Liam Triforce is full of hot air. You know, Liam Triforce, the gaming YouTuber. And look, it's not like he's only hot air. His channels and videos are definitely above average, a cut above many of his contemporaries. But he's no Neril, and Super Bunny Hop owes nothing to Ego Raptor. Okay, and this picture here is not Liam, that is Chuck Klosterman, but we'll get to that, there's a reason. Now, this presentation here today is not me offering some superior strategy to succeed in the YouTube analytics. Instead, you can think of today more as a writing seminar. This video is for you if you think my writing is good and my communication skills, and you're interested to hear how I go about thinking through the craft. Here we are. I will constructively criticize the kinds of flaws that make me not want to watch somebody's YouTube video, personally. So if you're not interested in that angle, tap out now. If you do watch the video despite that, that would void the warranty. And this video is not a personal attack. This video is not talking to Liam, but just talking about his products, the commentary on his channel. This is definitely not about getting Liam to change his ways. It's just to suggest to my audience why emulating his writing is not automatically my recommendation. For anyone that doesn't know, Liam is a gaming YouTuber who makes long-form videos on Zelda, Mario, and more. His channel can sometimes slip into the stereotype of the typical gaming YouTuber, of the variety that you see satirized in the classic video by Tom O'Regan, Every Gaming Analysis Video Essay, The Mechanics of Jumping. Take a look at this satire. Does it seem familiar?
Jumping is a core part of video games, from Super Mario to Super Mario 3. It allows the player to move upwards, forwards, upwards and forwards. But what makes a jump feel good? And how can developers use this mechanic in new and exciting ways? I'm Tom O'Regan, this is Game Players University, and let's jump into it.
Let's jump into it, guys. Alright, so here's where I'm at. After watching Liam's work over time, gradually, the issue that eventually became difficult to bear was that exact kind of thing. It's an illusion of impressive writing that time and again just leans on deluxe vocab, in ways that the script is frequently just describing factual summaries of the game's mechanics, but with a poetic choice of words. So let's now jump into Liam's video, Fear, Love, and Metroid, which will highlight one of the more egregious examples of this thing we're talking about here.
This sequence speaks louder than my own words ever could. The pans across the lab, the abrupt cuts that introduce the game, and the eerie music all set the stage for Super Metroid being totally distinct for its era. An action game that you can feel in every sense. One that you are happy to get lost in. One that can make your skin crawl. One that thrives on an immaculate sense of atmosphere through a perfect storm of gameplay, graphics, and sound.
Nope, can't do it. Alright, when I encounter this kind of thing, I gotta instead go to Emily Jasinski's channel to see if there's any new uploads. And it's because in my personal YouTube viewership, I only have so much bandwidth for Chuck Klosterman vibes. So here's Chuck Klosterman. If Chuck sees you at a party wearing a t-shirt of a cool indie band, he will corner you and start talking your ear off. He would say, "Oh man, when that band put out their sophomore record, it really filled the void left by their contemporaries Motorhead and Judas Priest." And yet there's a sly sense of almost half-parody coursing through the record too, where it's almost saying, this is a record that knows what you expect of it and is willing to both satisfy and subvert those expectations. So what you have there is a style of taking a pretty straightforward factual statement and massaging it so that it plays more like academic analysis. So although this particular Klosterman quote is just satire from The Onion, what it is satirizing is the kind of thing seen in Liam's Metroid video. So for example, Liam talks about the Metroid series inspirations such as the movie Alien, with this quote here, you ready? Describing it as a slasher film in space does not adequately convey just how well it distinguishes itself as a horror film. with an artful visual identity and atmosphere crafted by Ridley Scott's direction and H.R. Giger's perverse, unsettling designs. It was laden with disturbing violent and sexual metaphors that subverted typical slasher films of its era. And Jerry Goldsmith's enveloping blend of both classical music and industrial horror in his score created a dichotomy of both fear and intrigue in every moment. Okay, so first minute of the video, and we're already subverting. And also, the word dichotomy refers to a contrast between two entirely different things. But Liam's dichotomy is fear and intrigue. Like, I don't know, those things are sort of opposite, like you're afraid but also intrigued, but don't those two things just go in tandem well in any good horror movie? Like, it's terrifying but also intriguing because you want to solve the mystery of who is this villain and what is their deal. The word dichotomy is adjacent to juxtapose, after which there is no turning back. Now, Orwell has these rules of writing, and today we're only talking about Rule 2. Never use a long word where a small one will do. Now, if you break that rule, it's not the end of the world or anything, but if you misuse a word, in Liam's case, the misused word is diegetic. Liam incorrectly describes Metroid music as diegetic. That word means that the music sound is occurring in-game. So in other words, the characters and enemies in the scene can hear it. It's not just layered in artificially for you, the player, to hear. So, Liam, are you telling us that in Metroid, the cave spires keep falling to the ground in perfect diatonic intervals? Diegetic is a word used correctly in the comments section of the Stardust Speedway music theory video. See also, you should play Space Station Silicon Valley. So in Liam's video, when you hear the word titula, and then you hear another titula dropped a minute later, that's when you bail out of that video for the day, and instead check out one of his capstone videos about Zelda, the powerful responsibility of Twilight Princess. So look, I don't vibe with a video like this because the thesis stretches itself way too thin and runs into non-substantive territory. He's going to apply this theme of responsibility to way too many things. So listen now to Liam here introducing the responsibility theme.
Eiji Aonuma was forced to put aside his idea of a direct sequel to Wind Waker in favor of something that would win over international audiences. With the successor to the GameCube on the horizon and millions of nostalgic fans looking Nintendo's way, Aonuma and his team were faced with a responsibility unlike any other. If they were to promise a game that follows closely in Ocarina of Time's footsteps, they damn well better deliver.
Oh, so you mean that Nintendo had a responsibility to ensure Twilight Princess was good? Yeah, and that's just like all the other Zelda games. So here now is a modest supercut of the responsibility thread that connects it all throughout this essay.
I've seen plenty of complaints over the years directed at the game's pacing, lack of freedom, and its adherence to the elements that made Ocarina of Time special, not allowing it to have a voice of its own, among other things. But I believe the team is, and always has been, responsible, and as a result, I also believe the game is the way it is by choice, for better or worse. In many ways, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is a game about responsibility. Taking responsibility with power, for your friends, your family, your world, and your own mistakes. They incorporated these philosophies into both game design and narrative, and created something that survives as a powerful and memorable standalone Zelda game. In this video, I'll be going over how I believe this game establishes its identity, how the developers handled the game responsibly, and how the game conveys its message about responsibility through its characters and its world. That leaves us with the question of, what exactly is this game going for? Let's rewind back to Ordon Village, because one of the first clues as to what this game is trying to convey can be seen in our protagonist. This incarnation of Link is very special to me because I believe he is uniquely responsible. When previous incarnations of Link got their start, they were depicted as lazy and unwilling. However, something important to them takes them on a journey of epic proportions, and their worldview begins to evolve as they embark on adventures, grow up, and defeat Ganondorf. Their responsibilities are larger than life and gradually build as their adventure continues. On the other hand, the Link in this game already has plenty of responsibilities within his community, and he seems content with attending to them, no matter how menial the tasks may seem.
Well, sure, this version of Link does have more responsibilities than the other. He's got to herd the cattle in that minigame at the start, but it's really much more simple than that, is that all the other Links started out sleeping and kind of lazy, so when it came to Twilight Princess, it was just like, oh, let's subvert that and do something different, just so we make sure we're not copying the lazy, sleepy Link that's kind of a trope that starts every other Zelda game. As we push farther into the responsibility theme, it starts to get shakier and shakier.
The City in the Sky setting was so good that it ended up directly inspiring the setting of the next 3D Zelda game in full. Because this game wants you to focus primarily on the main quest, the team had a great responsibility on their shoulders to make the dungeons excellent. So they did. They're challenging, they all have identity and design and appearance, and they're rich with atmosphere.
So they had a responsibility to make the dungeons excellent. I mean, that's a pretty generic sentiment that could apply to anything, like needing to breathe air. Developers need air to thrive at their workstations. And when they designed the cattle herding mini-game, they had to breathe air while sitting at their computers. He at least does have some of a point here to say that, alright, if Wind Waker's open exploration meant that the dungeons were not as important, okay, it's a little bit more of a main stage thing here in Twilight Princess, but in this final clip now, we are going to reach the point of no return, the biggest stretch of this stretchy theme, this.
Since Twilight Princess uses linearity with responsibility, it's fitting that it also aims to tell a story about the various facets of responsibility, and it does so to great effect.
Wow, okay, so we are about 45 minutes into the video. We've spammed the word responsibility like there's no tomorrow, and only now are we going to start the section entitled Responsibility. Now, let's be clear about this. If this thesis is a little bit inadequate and kind of a stretch, you cannot blame that on like the title theming of wisdom, courage, and power. Liam made 3 Zelda videos that went with the theming of wisdom, courage, and power, but in this case, Liam used the word powerful just as an adverb for the word responsibility, which he brought in that word responsibility. So now here in the finale of this video, I will now be delivering Liam Triforce his sentencing, which will specify what Liam needs to do in order to atone for this situation. So here comes the verdict from me, Alex Yard, here at 91.6 WAYZ, the Alex Yard Zone, terrestrial internet radio deep in the heart of Boston. So, what exactly requires penance and reconciliation? It's actually just one small specific thing. Misusing the word diegetic. That's all. All the other style stuff, to each their own, different strokes for different Triforces. If I'm considering making a video about someone's works or writing, one reason that can fast-track the green light on it is if someone misuses a word. George Orwell made the point that clarity of language is clarity of thought. And if words become eroded with too wide of an application, with different word uses that are in conflict with each other, it becomes more impossible to speak with definitive clarity. So, Liam, you are hereby sentenced to make a video in the future that includes a correct use of the word diegetic. You don't even have to apologize. You don't even have to acknowledge your prior vocabulary misuse. All you need to do is demonstrate a full understanding by using that particular word correctly. So that means you're going to have to find a game to write about that actually does include diegetic music. Grand Theft Auto comes to mind because you can hear songs on the radio in the car while driving around. And Spawnwave could help you out with that because he likes GTA. DK Bonanza has plenty of diegetic music too. So if Liam bought a Switch 2 to enable Nintendo's pricing strategy, then a diegetic music spotlight would be great. Can't wait to see it. Everyone who was around for the 9/11 comeback week of daily uploads would have already watched all 6 seasons of The Sopranos, with all of its diegetic music at the strip club or while Tony's driving in the car and even singing along to the music. That is diegetic music. So the final piece of Liam's atonement is actually to watch all 5 seasons of The Wire. Almost all the music on that show is diegetic. except for each season's finale episode, where there's an epic montage with rare, non-diegetic music. So for the rest of the aspiring writers and content creators out there, the main takeaway today is that sentences of deluxe vocabulary do not automatically contain impressive insights. During every sentence of the YouTube content you ever consume, you always have to be thinking about what's actually being said underneath this kind of SAT vocabulary. Is it just a Wikipedia factual statement transformed into poetry? Liam and King K both lean into the genre. You get the sense that they take writing webinars together to rekindle their friendship intermittently. Because for them, simple terms like linear or nonlinear, even those get the Victorian vocab treatment. Like Liam plays the nonlinear Super Metroid, and for him, he says that the path is very malleable. King K plays Pokemon Sword and Shield and says that the linear structure reflects a loss of agency. Never use a big word where a small one will do. So look, I gave Liam the South Park roast treatment today. My opinions don't need to represent the majority, they only represent my own. Get in or get out, as always. Hopefully it's not upsetting for Liam, although I don't need his permission or blessing to critique his products. You guys ever heard of punching up? Like, I'm not going to punch down on someone like Post Mesmeric. That would be uncouth. Although his channel is the progeny of Liam's prose. And I would recommend his video about learning to love speedrunning thanks to the game Neon White, so there's a nice plug. No punching down. I've done more than enough today to contribute to the effort of breaking the perpetual cycle of every gaming analysis video ever. Good night, everybody.
If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe or even consider donating. Leave a comment in the description letting me know your favorite jump, and check out my previous video on how level 1-1 teaches you how to play.